Have you ever noticed how quickly we lose our peace when someone offends us? One harsh word, one careless comment, one act of disrespect, and suddenly our entire day is disturbed. It's almost as if we hand over the keys of our inner world to the very person who has just hurt us. But here's the truth: peace is not given by others, it is gifted by God, and only we decide whether to keep it or throw it away. When someone offends you, you have two choices. You can react instantly, fuel the fire, and let anger dominate you, or you can hold your peace, stay calm, and rise above the offense. Remember, when you protect your peace, you are not doing it for them. You are doing it for yourself, for your soul, for your connection with God. Holding your peace does not mean weakness, it means strength. It does not mean silence out of fear, it means silence out of wisdom. Today, let us explore together how to hold our peace when someone offends us. Because if we can learn this art, no situation, no person, and no insult will ever be able to control the serenity of our hearts. When someone offends you, the first fire that rises inside is the fire of reaction. The heart begins to race, the face feels heated, and the tongue feels restless to respond. Our mind pushes us to speak, to defend, to return the insult with something sharper. But in that exact moment, the greatest strength we can show is the strength of silence. Silence is not weakness. Silence is a shield. It is a pause that saves us from saying words we will later regret. How many times in life have we spoken too soon, only to wish later that we had remained quiet? One instant of uncontrolled reaction can damage relationships built over years. But one moment of silence, one breath held back, one calm pause can save us from unnecessary pain. When we remain silent after being offended, we do not lose. In fact, we win. Because silence is not the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. It allows the mind to settle, like mud sinking in still water, so we can see the situation with clarity. If water is shaken, we cannot see through it. But when it rests, it reflects clearly. In the same way, when our mind is shaken by offense, our vision is blurred. We do not see truth, only anger. But if we pause in silence, the mind becomes still and truth reveals itself. The silence is the mirror through which wisdom speaks. Think of a time when someone offended you. Maybe a colleague spoke rudely, or a family member said something insensitive, or a friend betrayed your trust. At that very moment, the natural urge is to reply instantly, to prove ourselves right, to push back. But if you had remained silent for just a little while, you might have seen that the other person was acting out of their own frustration, their own weakness, or even their own ignorance. Often, offenses say more about the one giving them than the one receiving them. Your silence, therefore, is not about suppressing yourself, but about protecting your inner peace from being stolen. Let's take an everyday example. Imagine you are driving on a busy road. Someone suddenly cuts you off, nearly hitting your car. Your immediate reaction is to honk, shout, maybe roll down the window and let your anger out. But what happens next? Your peace is gone, your heart is restless, and your mood is spoiled for the rest of the day. Now imagine another scenario. The same car cuts you off, but instead of reacting instantly, you take a deep breath, hold your peace, and say to yourself, maybe they are in a hurry, maybe they are struggling, maybe it is not worth losing my peace for. The situation ends right there. The offense did not grow into a chain of anger. Silence became your shield. You protected your day, your heart, and your peace. Silence in the face of offense is also an act of strength because it stops the cycle of negativity. When someone offends us, they throw a spark toward us. If we respond instantly with anger, we throw another spark back. Soon, both sides are on fire. But if we respond with silence, the spark dies at our feet. The fire never spreads. This is true courage, to end negativity with calmness, not to fuel it with reaction. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, only a strong person can remain silent when their ego is under attack. Weakness shouts, strength stays calm. Another beautiful aspect of silence is that it gives space for the other person to realize their mistake. Sometimes, our quietness becomes the mirror in which the other sees their own behavior. Words may not always correct someone, but silence can. Imagine a heated argument where one person stays completely calm and quiet. Eventually, the other person runs out of fuel, and in that emptiness, they often feel their own harshness. Your silence then becomes their teacher, not your words. It is also important to understand that silence is not suppression. It is not about burying anger deep inside. Suppression is unhealthy, but silence is conscious. Suppression is when you want to explode, but you forcefully hold back. Silence is when you wisely choose peace over reaction. It is not bottled up anger, it is controlled energy. The difference is subtle, but it changes everything. Suppression makes you feel heavy, silence makes you feel light. When we practice this kind of silence regularly, it becomes a habit. Slowly, people notice that nothing disturbs you easily. You become like a mountain, unshaken by the winds of offense, and this quality gives you dignity. People may not say it out loud, but they deeply respect those who can remain calm in the face of provocation. In truth, it is not just respect from others you gain, but self-respect. You feel stronger inside because you know that no one can control your peace without your permission. Holding silence when offended also connects us to God, because silence is the language of the divine. In silence, we listen to the voice of our higher self. We realize that the small insult someone threw at us is nothing compared to the vastness of our soul. The more we root ourselves in God's presence, the more natural it becomes to remain calm. We begin to see that our peace is not fragile, not dependent on others' words, but anchored in the eternal. So the next time someone offends you, remember you don't need to react instantly. Take a pause, breathe, let silence be your shield. Don't give away your peace so cheaply. Protect it, hold it, nurture it. Because in the end, what is more valuable? Proving someone wrong or preserving your inner calm? The choice is always in your hands. And every time you choose silence, you choose strength, you choose wisdom, and above all, you choose peace. Most of the time, when someone offends us, our first thought is, why did they do this to me? We take the offense as a personal attack, as though the entire intention of the other person was to destroy our peace. But the truth is, very often, what people say and do is not a reflection of us, it is a reflection of them. People who are hurting, people who are insecure, people who are restless inside often cannot help but project that turmoil outward. They throw words like stones, not because you deserve to be hurt, but because they themselves are hurting. Hurt people hurt others. When you understand this, you stop carrying every offense on your shoulders as though it defines your worth. Instead, you begin to see it as a window into the other person's struggle. Think about it for a moment. Imagine a person who is deeply peaceful, content, and joyful within. Do they go around insulting others? Do they try to bring others down? No. Such a person naturally uplifts, encourages, and respects others. Now think of someone who is always restless, insecure, or frustrated. Their inner world is heavy, and so they spread that heaviness outward. If a container is filled with sweet water will flow out. If a container is filled with bitterness, bitterness will spill out. In the same way, people cannot pour out of themselves what they do not carry within. When someone offends you, it is not really about you. It is about the condition of their heart. Let us look at a simple example. Suppose you are at work and a colleague suddenly snaps at you for something small. Your natural reaction might be to snap back, defend yourself, or feel insulted. But if you pause and think, maybe this person is going through a difficult time. Maybe their morning started with stress at home. Maybe their mind is troubled with worries I cannot see. Then you stop taking it personally. You begin to see that their words are born from their own struggles. Instead of anger, compassion arises. Instead of losing your peace, you hold it. When we internalize this truth, that hurt people hurt others, we protect ourselves from unnecessary emotional wounds. Because when someone offends you and you make it about yourself, you allow their storm to enter your heart. But when you recognize it as their storm, you let it pass without drowning in it. You become like a solid rock in a river. The water flows around you, but you remain steady. Their negativity may brush past you, but it does not carry you away. Think about daily life situations. Perhaps you have seen a shopkeeper shouting at customers, or a teacher yelling harshly at students, or even a parent scolding a child beyond what is reasonable. At first glance, it looks like the receiver is at fault. But if we look deeper, often the person giving the offense is struggling with their own pain. The shopkeeper may be under financial stress. The teacher may be battling personal problems. The parent may be weighed down by life's pressures. Without realizing it, they transfer their pain onto others. The offense comes out of them because it is inside them. If you can see that clearly, instead of feeling destroyed by their behavior, you begin to view them with compassion. Compassion does not mean you approve of their behavior. It simply means you understand its root. Just as you would not take a sick person's irritability personally, you don't take every offense personally either. If someone has a fever and they snap at you, you don't think, "Why me?" You think, "They are unwell." Similarly, emotional wounds also create fevers inside people. Their harshness is a symptom, not a definition of you. Another example, imagine you are walking in a crowded market and suddenly someone bumps into you. If you realize that the person was blind, would you get angry? No. You would instantly feel compassion because you know they didn't mean it. They simply couldn't see. Now think of offenses in the same way. People often cannot see clearly through their pain, insecurities, or ignorance. They bump into you with their words. If you carry this understanding, you respond with patience rather than anger. Understanding this principle also frees you from constant self-doubt. Many times, when people criticize us harshly or speak offensively, we start questioning ourselves. Am I really not good enough? Did I deserve that insult? But when you remember that their offense reflects their state, not your worth, you stop attaching your value to their words. You realize, this is about them, not about me. That awareness saves your peace. It is also important to note that everyone is fighting battles we cannot see. Life is heavy for many, though they smile outside. Sometimes, the very person who offended you may be carrying a heartbreak, a loss, or a pressure unknown to you. If you knew their struggle, you might even forgive them instantly. That is why holding your peace requires shifting from judgment to understanding. Instead of asking, "Why did they treat me like this?" ask, "What must they be going through that they treated me like this?" That single shift transforms anger into empathy. When you live with this awareness, you rise above offenses. You stop letting others dictate your inner weather. Just because someone is stormy inside does not mean your sky must also be dark. You realize that you are responsible for your own state of mind, and no one can take that peace away unless you allow it. Their pain belongs to them, your peace belongs to you. You cannot heal them by reacting in anger, but you can protect yourself by choosing calmness. So the next time someone offends you, remember, their words are not always about you. More often than not, they are a cry from their own wound. You don't need to absorb that pain, you don't need to carry it. Instead, you can hold your peace, see them with compassion, and walk away lighter. Because true wisdom is not in reacting to the noise of others, but in listening to the silence of understanding within. Offense only grows when the ego feels bruised. It is rarely the actual words or actions of someone that trouble us deeply. It is the way our ego interprets them. The ego whispers, "How dare they speak to me like this? Do they not know who I am? I must prove them wrong. I must show my power." And in that moment, peace is lost, not because the words were powerful, but because the ego became louder than our awareness. When we shift from ego to awareness, we stop giving power to every offense that comes our way. We begin to see the situation from a higher place, a place where dignity and wisdom live. Let's take an example. Imagine two people being insulted at the same time. One person reacts instantly, shouting back, defending themselves, making the argument bigger. The other person smiles gently, remains calm, and simply walks away. What's the difference between the two? The words of insult were the same. The difference lies inside. The first person's ego was wounded, and so it fought back. The second person's awareness was strong, and so it did not allow the ego to lead. Awareness says, "This moment will pass. My peace is worth more than my pride." Most conflicts in life come not from what others do, but from how our ego interprets what they do. If a stranger calls you a fool, you may laugh it off and think, "They don't know me." But if a close friend or family member uses the same word, you may feel hurt for days. The word is the same, yet the ego adds its weight. They should respect me. They should know better. The more we feed the ego, the heavier every offense feels. The more we feed awareness, the lighter life becomes. Awareness means stepping back and observing the situation without letting the ego dictate your response. For example, suppose someone criticizes your work at the office. The ego says, "They are trying to belittle me. I must prove I am better." But awareness says, "Let me see if there is something useful in this criticism. If there is, I will learn. If not, I will let it go." The first path creates conflict, the second path creates growth. Awareness turns offense into opportunity. Another everyday situation. Imagine you are waiting in a long line at a shop. Someone suddenly cuts in front of you. Instantly, the ego rises. "How dare they disrespect me? I was here first." You feel offended, angry, restless. But awareness says, "Does this really matter in the bigger picture of my life? Is my inner calm worth losing over a few minutes?" With awareness, you breathe, let it go, and remain peaceful. The offense disappears because the ego no longer holds it. The ego is always concerned with image, how people see us, how people treat us, whether we look strong or weak in their eyes. But awareness is concerned with truth, who we really are beyond all appearances. The ego is fragile, even a small word can break it. Awareness is vast, no word can touch it. When we choose awareness, we connect with our higher self, the self that is not shaken by others' opinions. We realize, "I am more than what they call me. I am more than what they think of me. I am a soul, a child of God, a being of light. With that understanding, no offense can truly harm you. It is also important to see how the ego always seeks to win arguments, while awareness seeks to win peace. The ego wants to be right, awareness wants to be free. The ego says, I must have the last word. Awareness says, I don't need the last word if I already have peace in my heart. Which one truly makes life better? Which one truly gives strength? It is awareness, always. There is a simple way to test this in daily life. Next time you feel offended, pause and ask yourself, is this my ego speaking or my awareness? If it is ego, you will feel heaviness, anger, and restlessness. If it is awareness, you will feel lightness, calm, and clarity. Just this one question can change the way you respond to situations. Consider the wisdom of nature. A tall tree does not fight every gust of wind. If it did, it would break. Instead, it bends, it flows, it allows. That flexibility comes from its awareness of its roots. It knows it is deeply anchored. In the same way, when you are rooted in awareness, you do not break under the offenses of life. You bend, you let go, and you rise stronger. The ego is like a dry stick. It snaps easily. Awareness is like a living tree. It stands tall through every storm. The shift from ego to awareness is not easy, but it is powerful. It requires practice. It requires daily reflection. It requires asking yourself, is my peace more valuable than my pride? Every time you choose peace, your awareness grows stronger and your ego grows weaker. Slowly, you begin to notice that offenses which once disturbed you no longer have the same effect. What once made you restless now only makes you smile. This is the beauty of awareness. It transforms the way you experience life. So when someone offends you, remember, it is often your ego that feels attacked, not your true self. Shift from ego to awareness. See the situation from above, not from the ground. Realize that your peace is worth far more than winning a small battle of words. Because in the end, the greatest victory is not proving others wrong, but remaining unshaken within. Responding instead of reacting is one of the most powerful arts a human being can learn in life. A reaction is quick, impulsive, and often filled with the fire of ego. It is like striking a match in a room full of dry leaves. Once it ignites, it spreads uncontrollably. But a response is calm, thoughtful, and full of awareness. It is like lighting a lamp in a dark room. It brings clarity without destroying anything. When someone offends you, the difference between reaction and response is the difference between losing your peace and keeping it, between creating conflict and creating harmony. A reaction comes from the lower self, the part of us that is restless, impatient, and easily disturbed. A response comes from the higher self, the part of us that is rooted in patience, wisdom, and God's presence. The world often provokes us, people test us, and situations challenge us. But no one has the power to control our inner state unless we hand it over. The person who can respond calmly instead of reacting in anger is the person who has truly mastered themselves. Think of a situation at home. Suppose a family member speaks harshly to you in a moment of frustration. If you react immediately, you might throw back words that cut even deeper. The argument grows, emotions flare, and soon both sides are hurt. But if you take a breath, pause, and respond gently, the situation shifts. Instead of adding fuel to the fire, you pour water over it. Sometimes even a simple response like, I understand you are upset, let's talk when you're calmer, is enough to transform the moment. That is the power of responding. It de-escalates, it heals, it protects peace. In daily life, we see countless examples of this. Imagine being in a workplace where a colleague criticizes your work unfairly in front of others. The natural reaction might be to defend yourself angrily, to argue, to prove them wrong instantly. But a calm response, such as saying, "Thank you for sharing your perspective, I'll reflect on it," shows dignity. Later in private, you can address the issue more effectively without making it a public battle. This response not only saves your peace, but also earns respect from others because people admire calmness in the face of provocation. The beauty of responding is that it reflects inner strength, not weakness. Many people believe that reacting strongly shows power, but true power lies in control. A person who cannot control their tongue or temper is not strong. They are a slave to their emotions. But a person who can remain calm when provoked demonstrates mastery over themselves. This is why responding is not a passive act, it is an active choice. It requires awareness, patience, and deep self-control. Let's take another simple example. Imagine you are standing in a long queue and someone cuts in front of you. The immediate reaction is to get angry, shout, or push them aside. But if you respond instead, you might say politely, "Excuse me, the line starts back there," or sometimes even let it go if it's not worth the energy. By responding, you protect your peace and avoid unnecessary conflict. Because, in truth, not every battle is worth fighting. Some situations deserve silence, others deserve a calm word, but very few situations ever deserve a heated reaction. Responding instead of reacting also influences the other person. Reactions usually trigger stronger reactions from others, but calm responses often soften them. When someone shouts and you respond gently, it creates a mirror that shows them their own behavior. Many times, people calm down not because you argued better, but because you refuse to join their storm. Your peace becomes contagious. Consider nature as a teacher. If you throw a stone into still water, it creates ripples. But if you throw a stone into flowing water, the current carries it away without much disturbance. The water responds instead of reacting. In the same way, when we flow with awareness, offenses come like stones, but they do not create lasting ripples in our hearts. They are carried away by our calmness. It is also important to understand that responding does not mean suppressing emotions. It does not mean pretending to be unaffected while burning inside. True responding means you process the emotion within, you allow awareness to filter it, and then you choose a conscious action. It is not about silence born from fear, but silence or words born from wisdom. Sometimes your response may be speaking up firmly, but with dignity. At other times, your response may be silence, because not every offense deserves an answer. The key is choice. Awareness gives you the freedom to choose, while reaction steals that freedom. Every time you practice responding, you are strengthening your inner discipline. The first time may be difficult. You might feel your tongue itching to react, your heart racing with anger. But the moment you pause, breathe, and allow a calm response to emerge, you taste the strength of self-control. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. Soon, you notice that situations which once disturbed you no longer shake you. You start living with unshakable balance. And most importantly, responding connects you with God. Because when you respond calmly, you reflect the qualities of patience, compassion, and wisdom that are divine in nature. You become a channel of peace in a world full of noise. You realize that your peace is not a gift from others. It is a gift from God, and it is your responsibility to protect it. So when offense comes, and it surely will, because life is full of tests, pause before you speak, breathe before you act. Ask yourself, Am I about to react from ego or respond from awareness? Choose the latter, because in that choice lies your dignity, your peace, and your strength. Responding is not about winning the argument, it is about winning yourself. Offense only grows when the ego feels bruised. It is rarely the actual words or actions of someone that trouble us deeply. It is the way our ego interprets them. The ego whispers, "How dare they speak to me like this? Do they not know who I am? I must prove them wrong. I must show my power." And in that moment, peace is lost, not because the words were powerful, but because the ego became louder than our awareness. When we shift from ego to awareness, we stop giving power to every offense that comes our way. We begin to see the situation from a higher place, a place where dignity and wisdom live. Let's take an example. Imagine two people being insulted at the same time. One person reacts instantly, shouting back, defending themselves, making the argument bigger. The other person smiles gently, remains calm, and simply walks away. What's the difference between the two? The words of insult were the same. The difference lies inside. The first person's ego was wounded, and so it fought back. The second person's awareness was strong, and so it did not allow the ego to lead. Awareness says, "This moment will pass. My peace is worth more than my pride." Most conflicts in life come not from what others do, but from how our ego interprets what they do. If a stranger calls you a fool, you may laugh it off